year again. A time to get together with friends and family and tell each other Christmas stories.
What's up, Santa?
Whoa, whoa, whoa! First Christmas tale. It's called Little Girl's Christmas, and it goes like this.
Gifts for her on all the other Christmas Eves. Still, she wasn't quite satisfied. Way down in her heart, she was a little unwish. Well, what do you wish? Said a tiny voice close by her. So close that little girl jumped when she... Why don't you go then? Said tiny voice. It's easy enough. Just try on these shoes and take this light in your hand and you'll fireplace. Such cute shoes as they were, little girl could hardly wait to pull off her slippers and try them on. They fitted into the open air where Jack Frost and the starbeams were all busy at work, making the world look pretty for Christmas. You see, it was a straight road all the way, and when one doesn't have to think about turning to the right or to the left, and little Christmas fairies were all around her and even right inside her, because she couldn't see a single one of them. Leading up a hill to a big, big house with ever and ever so many windows in it. When she had gone just a bit nearer his house, and that pretty soon she would perhaps see Santa himself. Just as she neared the steps, and before she could pass away, just as little girl knew that he was a very happy little man, and you would have guessed right away, too, that the reason he was so little girl holding fast to little man's hand. And when she was inside, she saw the jolliest, reddest fire all glowing in them, no matter how long she tried. All around her were bundles and boxes and piles of toys and games. And little good cheer brothers began to hurry and bustle and carry out the bundles as fast as they could to the steps where little girl could hear the jingling the bells on their harnesses, because they were so eager to be on their way to the earth once more. She could hardly wait for Santa to come, and that each one carried a tree or a big Christmas wreath on his back. Behind them all, she could hear someone laughing loudly, for he spotted her at once and said, "Bless my soul! Who are you? And where did you come from?" "Little girl, that I came to your house, and here I am." "Ho, ho, 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 ho," laughed Santa, "and here you are. Wanted to see Santa top by midnight." And good old Santa put his big warm hand on little girl's curls, and she felt his kindness. "If I could only ride down to earth with you behind those pretty reindeer. I'd love to go. Won't you please take me, your little elves? Shall we take her, little fairies? Shall we take her, good reindeer?" And all the little elves hopped and skipped, and before little girl could even think, she found herself all tucked up in the big fur robes beside Santa. Now she felt the runners scrape upon something, and she knew they must be on someone's roof, and that Santa would slip down someone tight and close as he shouldered his pack, never thinking that it was heavier than usual, and with a bound and a slide. And he was very much surprised to find that she had come too. "Bless my soul," he said. "Where did you come from, little girl? And how was evening?" So she said, "Oh, never mind me, Santa. I've had such a good time, and I can stay here a while. I believe." And there's Kitty Cat curled up on his cushion in the corner. And little girl turned to thank Santa and say goodbye to him. And Santa won't come if he thinks there are any little girls about. But little girl knew better than that. And when she began to tell her by the fireplace was the little black coal, which had given her 2 shoes and bright light, and tightened her hand.
I'm in a rush to get these presents in. Ow, ouch. Ouch. They make these things smaller every year. It's called the fir tree, and this is how it goes.
Like its tall companions, the pines and the firs which grew around it. The sun shone, and the soft air fluttered the little tree, which made it feel even more unhappy than before. And yet, all this while, the tree grew taller every year. Birds build nests on my branches. And when the wind blows, I should bow with great dignity, like my tall companions. There was a little hare that would come springing along and jump right over the little tree's head. That mortified the tree so unsatisfied, and would exclaim, "Oh, to grow, to grow! If I could but keep on growing tall and gray," fell to the earth with a crash. Then they were placed, one upon another, upon wagons, and drawn by horses out, and the dew watered it with tears. But the fir tree regarded them not. Christmas time grew near, and many young we know, said the sparrows. "We have looked in at the windows of the houses in the town, and we know what is done with them. Playthings and colorful baubles." "And then," asked the fir tree, trembling in all its branches, "and then what have grown as those which were taken away last year? Oh, will I be laid on the wagon and stood in the warm room, longing to know?" "Rejoice in our love," said the air and the sunlight. "Enjoy your own bright life in the fresh." The discontented fir tree was the first to fall. As the axe cut sharply through the trunk, the tree fell with a groan to colored flowers that had grown by its side, perhaps not even the birds. Nor was the journey at all pleasant. Fir tree into a large and beautiful apartment. Pictures hung on the walls, and near the great stove stood Gretchen. The fir tree was placed in a large tub full of sand, but green tinsel hung all around it, so that no one could know colored paper and beautiful glass baubles. From other branches hung gilded apples and walnuts, and all around, "This evening," they all exclaimed, "how bright it will be!" Oh, that the evening were come, thought the tree, and the candles lit. It was of very little use. His back ached for trying, and this pain is as bad for a slender fir tree as the headache wrapped gifts below. After this, the tree tried not to tremble at all, though the fire frightened him. He was so anxious. For a moment, the little ones stood silent with astonishment, and then they shouted for joy till the room rang. And they did under the tree. Oh, how they rushed upon it! There was such a riot that the branches cracked, and had it not been fastened, it had been forgotten. "A story, a story!" cried the children, pulling a little fat man toward the tree. "Now we shall be in green shade." "A princess?" "Yes!" cried the children, and there was a wild uproar. But the fir tree remained quite still, and thought raised up again, and married a princess. And the children clapped their hands and cried, "Tell another, tell another!" After this, because it was related by such a pleasant man. "Ah, well," he thought, "who knows? Perhaps I may fall down too and marry a prince again." And the tree remained quiet and thoughtful all night. In the morning, the servants and the housemaid came in. "Now, what am I to do here? I can hear nothing in a place like this." And he leaned against the wall and thought had never existed. "It is winter now," thought the tree. "The ground is hard and covered with snow, so that people cannot plant me out in the forest while the snow lay on the ground. When the hare would run by, yes, and jump over me too, although I did not." "Oh, it is very cold in here," said the little mouse. "If it were not, we would be very comfortable here, wouldn't we, old fir tree? I am not in a storeroom where cheeses lie on the shelf and hams hang from the ceiling. One can go in thin and come out fat in a place like that." They said, "What a number of things you have seen! You must have been very happy." "Happy?" exclaimed the fir tree. "Happy you must have been, you old fir tree." "I am not old at all," replied the fir tree. "I only came from the forest this winter, but they may come again. Humpty Dumpty fell downstairs, and yet he married a princess. Perhaps I may marry a princess every single word." The next night, a great many more mice made their appearance, and on Sunday 2 rats came with them. But I did not know I was so happy at the time." "We think it is a very miserable story," said the rats. "Don't you know any story around me, and listened while I talked? Now, that is all past too. Oh, how I shall consider myself happy!" It was carried downstairs and taken into the courtyard so quickly that it forgot to think of itself, and could only look about. There was spreading out its branches, but alas, they were all withered and yellow. And it lay in the corner amongst weeds, a gilded star, and ran and pulled it off the tree. "Look what is sticking to the ugly old fir tree," said the child, treading on the evening, and of the little mice who had listened to the story of Humpty Dumpty. "The past, it's all in the past," said the poor brightly, while the tree sighed deeply. "Pop, pop," sighed his burning branches. Then the children who were at and of Humpty Dumpty, the only story it had ever heard or knew how to tell, till at last it was consumed.
Now shining brighter than ever.
Was now shining brighter than ever, and it joined the clouds and the singing birds and the
Ho, 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 ho. Wasn't that a wonderful Christmas story? Now have I got... That's right. This is how our dough rolls. Ho, 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 ho. Take it from here, fellas.